Welcome. Welcome to episode 2 or webinar number 2 of the Golf Fitness Mastermind series. Tonight we are very excited. Myself and Kirk are going to be talking and leading a discussion all about training junior golfers. And this is something that obviously both the two of us are very passionate about, but it's just so prevalent out there now as far as making sure kids are training the right way, understanding what they should be doing in order to enhance their game and their body both on and off the course. So again, this is the second time we're going through this webinar series. If you guys have not checked out the first one yet, go ahead and do so. That was held last month with me and Dan Shipman, and we talk about simplifying your programming. And again, the point of these webinars, guys, is for us as a part of the Mastermind group to get out as much information and value as we can to you as our audience and listeners, whether you are fellow golf fitness professionals, whether you're in the fitness industry, whether you're a golfer, it doesn't matter. We want to give you stuff that you guys can have that's actionable things that you can implement into your routines and into your strategies right away. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Leave a comment in the chat box here, or if you watch the tape delay, I know we have some people already asked if we could watch the tape delay. That'll be emailed and recorded and sent to you guys in a few days once we edit it up. So if you have any questions, leave a comment on the YouTube page as well. We are looking to make this as interactive as possible, and part of the reason why we wanted to go ahead and create this platform to interact with the whole audience. All right, so let's dive in. Kirk, welcome. Thanks for hopping on, buddy. Why don't you give a quick little rundown, who you are, where you're based out of?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on tonight, Mike. So just to kind of fill everybody in, my name's Kirk Adams. I'm working currently as the head of fitness at Ben Shear Golf in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. I've been here since September of this year, but my relationship with Ben goes back, almost 7 years now, to when I was working at Golf and Body NYC back in New York City. Quick history, started my career in fitness kind of as a strength and conditioning coach at Penn State University, working with both the men's and women's golf team there. I was there for about 13 years. Like I said, then was living in New York, working at Golf and Body NYC. That was kind of my initial connection with Ben, and we had a bit of a junior program there as well. And then since this fall, I've been back with Ben in New Jersey here at Ben Shear Golf, and we have a pretty well-established junior program here. We had a group in the fall, about 3 days a week, and right now we have juniors in 5 days a week. And basically what they do is they come in, they do an hour of guided practice. We have some practice facilities upstairs where they can hit on a TrackMan and a swing catalyst force plate. There's a practice green where they can do some putting and chipping and short game drills, and then they do an hour of individualized fitness with us downstairs in the gym. So I play a big role in that, and have really enjoyed working in the facility there since the fall.
Awesome, love it. And obviously I'm from that area as well, so they do some great work up in that area, guys. If you're in the Northeast, in the New Jersey area, please go ahead, give Kirk a follow and give him a shout out if you're interested in training with him. They do some great work up at that facility. So I love it. It's a perfect tie-in. We're talking about juniors tonight. We're going to go through a couple different topics. And also, guys, keep in mind, yes, some of these might be specific to the junior player, but a lot of them are just going to be kind of general principles that we would apply for anybody, but we just cater and tweak a couple things when it comes to the junior player. So Kirk, what I think we should start off with is just kind of foundation, right? When we're talking about junior players, what are their needs? What are their goals? And what are things that we're looking to give them as the coaches?
Yeah. Well, I think, if you kind of look at it from a broad sense, and I'll kind of generalize a little bit. I mean, obviously most of our juniors and, we're looking at middle school, high school age kids, those needs can be a little bit different, whether we're talking about middle school or high school, especially as we get up into juniors and seniors in high school. But, in general, we're looking to establish a good fitness base for them. Looking at basic movement patterns of pushing, pulling, hinging, crawling, carrying, those kind of things. We put all of our juniors through an assessment process that looks at a lot of the specific things that they're going to need relative to the game of golf, but there's also some just basic fitness qualities and patterns that we're looking to teach those junior players. So we start out kind of figuring out where they're at. Obviously progression and understanding what exercises are right for that individual is really important at that age. And sometimes it doesn't look like what us as adults might consider fitness. It's more play and games and learning how to just move and control their body and those kind of things. But, what we're trying to do is, I think, set them up for a lifelong pursuit of fitness, and obviously address the things that are going to be important to their game. And, most juniors, they tend to, on average, move relatively well. Their mobility is pretty good. They haven't been sitting in an office for 20 or 30 years like a lot of our adults are. So hopefully a lot of their movement abilities are pretty good, although, we still see some juniors that struggle with that. But from a stability standpoint, a strength standpoint, is often where they can kind of make the biggest, we can affect them the most. And again, teaching them how to just navigate the gym in an intelligent way, so that when they get a little older, when they are, transitioning out of high school into college and into, hopefully continuing to work out as an adult, that they've developed some good habits and that they're ready to kind of continue that through their playing career.
Yeah, I love it. I think that all makes perfect sense. And I think a point that you touched on is also giving them the habits now to give them confidence and education moving forward in their life, because this is something that we want to implement to them forever. So I completely agree with you on that. And I think, to add on what you were just saying towards the end there, from my experience with juniors too, it's kind of funny. They fall into two very kind of clear boxes. Like, you get a couple of those ones that just need the mobility. They're just like the super stiff ones. They kind of don't know what's going on with their body yet, and they just need to be opened up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the far majority of them tend to fall into that other category where they're in that kind of like that gawky, they're in that stage where they need that stability and they need to be able to harness strength, because they don't really know how to use their bodies yet. And that goes back to a lot of the principles that we were talking about before, how the body moves, the pushes, the pulls, the hinges, the squats. It's amazing the gains and the rapid progress that you can see with juniors, even way more so than with just the regular general older population. Because once you get those adaptations kind of kicked in with the junior player, especially from the strength and stability standpoint, they pick things up quick, right? And
they adapt quickly. Their nervous systems adapt quickly.
Yeah, and it's fun to work with them, because you're like, hey, do this, and then like once they get that pattern and it's kind of grooved into them, then it's like, hey, now the sky is the limit here. So I love what you said there. And is there anything you want to add on to that?
No, I think, it's, I think there's broad things that we can sort of generalize, but then obviously we have to look at the individual. And, the thing that I found is the more time that I can spend with each individual person, I can sort of feel or figure out where I need to differentiate their program for them. I sort of start off with a blank canvas of, this is what I sort of expect them to need and what I'm going to have to focus on. But very often I find that I sort of have to go in a different direction. And as we sort of check off, some of those needs, we can kind of tackle other things. And I'm always interested to find how, the more time I get to spend with them, the better I'm able to sort of direct my coaching with them and get them moving in the right direction, hopefully a little bit quicker.
Sure. And that actually is perfect, because next up I want to talk about the assessment process. So when we're dealing with someone, whether it's, again, this is for junior, doesn't matter who, right?
Yep.
We're going to take somebody through an assessment, and that's our chance, not only as a coach to gather information about the movement process and injuries and background and all that stuff, but to get to know them, right? And to figure out what we need to do to pinpoint their specific limitations or targeted approach or whatever those goals is. So walk me through, obviously you and I are educated the same way, so we go through a lot of the same assessment processes. Take me through some of the stuff that you guys do at your facility when it comes to assessing a junior player.
Yeah, I think we sort of created an assessment that is, I would say essentially a combination of, a lot of the stuff that you would see from TPI, a lot of the things you would see in FMS, some general, athletic strength testing where we're looking at, push-ups and inverted rows and jumping abilities. And we have some cool technology at our facility. We have a 1080 motion. We've got a K-box. We've got some, push band. So we do some, real simple gym class kind of stuff like broad jumping and push-ups and those kind of things. And then we have some of the, we're fortunate to have some of the best technology out there. And, we're trying to look and see again, all those different fitness qualities, whether it be mobility, strength, power, endurance. What are the areas that are maybe holding this athlete back? Where do we need to focus our programming for them, so that, it's, again, they're sort of falling into a big category of junior golfers, males, females, they're in that same age group, but, those different people could need very different things, especially as they get a little bit older and they get closer to graduation. Their needs are going to start to probably, differentiate a little bit. So, I think plus it gives us a bit of a baseline to kind of look back and say, how is our programming effective? It can really lend to buy-in from the kid and the parent, that we can show progress. So sometimes, you can sort of get lost in the weeds, and, we started this program back in January and we've been going for about 8 weeks now. And, I'm sure at times it sort of seems like they're just coming in and punching the clock a little bit when it comes to, the workouts. But if we can periodically show them, hey, look, this is where you were before, this is where you are now. Sometimes that light bulb goes off and it sort of reinvigorates them a little bit, remotivates them a little bit. And now they're a little more tuned in when they're in the gym, because they see that the work they've been putting in actually has shown some progress. So,
progress sells.
Progress definitely sells. And, whether it be, feeling better on the course, hitting the ball farther, making better scores. The great thing about golf is it's very, very objective. Either you're making a better score or you're not. Either you're hitting the ball further or you're not. A lot of other sports, team sports, it's very subjective. You might be doing a lot better, but the people around you or the team as a whole may not be having the same kind of success. Golf is a little more objective, and sometimes that's helpful from our standpoint. So I think we can assess a lot of different things, but I think the bottom line, the goal is to have the best program for that individual, and then also to show the progress that they're making with their training.
That's a good point about the team versus individual. I mean, it's there just because of the nature of the sport, but as far as the objective measures to measure things, it's kind of cool, because obviously we could do that in a gym setting rather easily, right? Are you getting stronger? Is your range of motion getting better? But when it comes to the course, that's pretty easy to do, actually. I like that. Also, quick little training side note: how's the K box? I've never used it before.
It's great. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't had an opportunity to get on it a ton either. That's something that I know Ben and I want to spend a little more time on here in the next couple of weeks and months. But I'm excited to learn more about it. And it seems like, he's done a lot of stuff I know with it in the past, as with some golfers and with some of the hockey athletes that come into the facility. Right. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of diving into that a little bit more.
It just looks cool. I like the loading scheme. I think that the deadlift, the sumo pattern, things like that, you can really kind of get a lot out of it without the stress and the axial loading. So excuse me for my little trainer geek out session here, but I was just curious about that one. So, all right.
Yeah. We're fortunate. We have a K box and we have a K pulley. So, we should have some opportunities. Yeah, we should have some opportunities to do some cool upper and lower body stuff with those two things.
Cool. See, go check out his facility. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get into a question that I think we've all, as coaches, been asked a lot over the years. And I know that my answer has shifted a tiny bit, but I think it's kind of rooted into more of what like my mentors and experts tend to say. So how about this one? How young should I start lifting, right? Or how old should I, what's the appropriate age when I should start lifting, especially for a junior player?
Well, I think it's interesting you chose the word lifting, because I think, lifting and fitness and how you define that, I think it makes a big difference, because I think, again, I don't know that there's an answer. I think it depends on the individual child. One, because, around middle school or end of elementary school, things like that, obviously kids are developing at different rates. And you may have a 10-year-old who's very mature, both mentally and physically, and you may have a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old who's not. So there's a little bit of a gray zone there, but I think the important thing to understand is, what fitness may look like at that age or at a younger age, again, may not be what we would consider fitness or lifting. And I think if it's more like play and games and recess and teaching the body how to move and, just run, jump, throw, those kind of things, that can be fitness. And it doesn't have to be a barbell on your back, or it doesn't have to be laying on a bench and pushing a barbell like we might think of fitness. And that could be that probably where most people should, look to start. So I think an assessment is a great place to start, both physically and mentally. What is that kid ready for? And then start slow. Start with stuff that is, low risk, high reward. And if they can demonstrate good competencies, then, using your coaching eye, you can decide how quickly, that individual can progress. We have, I think we have 1 9 and 1 10-year-old, and, they're a little bit different as far as what they can handle in a workout. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set them up for success down the line. I don't even know that we've used a dumbbell or anything like that with any of them. I'm just trying to teach them how to create tension and good movement patterns that hopefully eventually down the line that we can load and train like you would think of, that we might think of as exercise or lifting. Right. So it's a tough question to answer, but I think, you have to think of it in the terms of it may not look like what an adult program would look like. And, if you think of it as more as just training for the future, and setting them up for success in the future, then, it doesn't have to be super intense, but if it can lead them to a place where down the line they can be successful, I think that is, good lifting for that age group.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a good point about the words that I used. And to that same notion, it's like so many people, I don't know where this kind of came from originally, but like, I think so many people have this negative connotation where, oh, if I do lift, I'm going to like stunt my growth, or I'm going to like harm the child. And it's like, listen, if you go through some of these movement patterns and learn how to control your body weight, like, there's nothing wrong with giving a 12-year-old kid a dumbbell and saying, hey, goblet squat. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to break, right? And if anything, it's going to help them. So I think what it looks like, and you nailed it, it could be free play, it could be crawling, it could be body weight, it's probably a lot of stuff that our adult clients should be doing, right?
So they need to.
Exactly. So I think that fitness component is like there's nothing wrong with starting young in terms of understanding how your body moves, gaining some type of just foundational control over your body, whether it's balance, stability, holding a push-up position, doing a body weight squat. And I mean, I've run clinics before for kids 7, 8, 9 years old. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That's a good looking squat. Here's 5 pounds. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. It's okay. And I think a lot of times in the fitness industry, or excuse me, not the fitness industry, people think that the fitness industry is just kind of beating down these weights on kids. We're like, no, we never want to load a pattern that's dysfunctional no matter who it is. And it's probably not going to help if it's a 13-year-old girl that doesn't have stability anyway. But, lifting weights is not a bad thing. It just needs to be done properly, and it needs to be progressed over time. And no matter who that person is, it starts with that foundational control over the body. So I'm a huge fan of getting kids in the gym, having them, like you said, explore, learn about their body, gain a little bit of stability, because, oh, by the way, I also think it's a huge confidence boost. You take a 14, 15-year-old kid and he feels confident enough to go into the gym with his buddies and do a workout. Like, I think that's a big deal. Not to mention when you fast forward a couple of years, if you are a competitive level player, you're getting recruited, things like that, you step in that college gym, if you haven't lifted weights or if you haven't been in that atmosphere, you're going to be well behind, right? Because it's going to happen at that level for sure. So, a lot of times also we say juniors, like, what does that mean? And I think, like you said, it touches on a wide range of things, but I'm talking more now like 12, 13, 14 years old. You're kind of out of that mature gawky stage. You're getting into high school. Like, this is when you really need to start getting your body working and really getting things, firing, we'll say, because it can unleash so much potential on the golf course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it's fair for parents and coaches to be cautious about sending their kids to the wrong place, because,
sure.
It just like with an adult, you can apply fitness really poorly and put somebody in a bad situation. And I think you're more likely to do that with a young kid. Finding the right person who understands that, fitness can look different for different age groups, and where it's appropriate to start is it's a worthy concern. But, if you can find the right person, kids of that age group can really benefit, like you said, in a lot of different ways.
There is a side note. There is a CrossFit gym that's like for kids down the street from me here. And it's okay. They do like after the middle school, it's right across from the middle school. they go and they do CrossFit workouts after school, and it kind of makes me cringe. I want to go like be creepy and like go see what it's all about one day, but I'm like, oh boy, if they have those kids like power cleaning and stuff, I'm going to lose my mind. So we'll see. One day I'll have to sneak into there, but
yeah.
um,
I could see that being done very well, and I could see that being done very poorly. So
yeah, it would have to take a lot of work to be done well, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So anyway, okay, cool. So another topic that I know gets a lot of talk about, especially in the TPI world, as we're seeing these golfers now, these modern golfers, the Koepkas, the DJs, the Gary Woodlands, the real athletes, right? So let's dive into and talk a little bit more about sport specialty, and if we think it's a good thing, bad thing. Should kids only be playing golf? What are the benefits of doing different sports? I know I certainly have an opinion on it, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate. I think it comes down to, it should be a conversation, obviously, I think where the kid is included and what they, really want. Again, for example, we have a 9-year-old that comes in and, he wants to play golf every single day. And, he seems like he's the driver of that. It's not like his parents are forcing him to do it and things like that. So I think whether the kid wants to do it or whether it's the parents that are, truly the ones that want them to do it, that's one part of this equation. I think it's good for kids to have a wide range of activities that they're involved in, whether it be other sports, whether it be training in the gym. A well-rounded fitness program could essentially be a second sport for a junior. But I think it's also important that, at some point, if an athlete or if a junior truly wants to be very good at the game of golf or any sport, they probably do need to emphasize that sport to some degree. If they want, especially a sport that is as skill-based, I think, as golf is, where, squaring the club face, it's hard to do if you're not going to get enough repetitions. It's one thing. Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's one thing to look at, some gross motor development like running, jumping, throwing, evening out some of the asymmetries that maybe golf can develop because we're generally only going to swing in one direction. But when it comes down to the fine motor skills that a sport like golf needs, if you want to be one of the best players on your high school team, in your state, in the country, in the world, whatever the case may be, at some point you're probably going to have to emphasize that sport. And it doesn't mean that you can't participate in other things, maybe as a rec league or maybe not to the same. It doesn't mean it has to be a 50-50 split between golf and another sport. But if you truly want to be, I think, a high level player in a sport that requires a lot of fine motor skill, at some point you're probably going to need to emphasize that, or it's going to be very hard to develop to the best of your ability. And I think trying to find that balance of, being a kid, having some general motor development, making it fun, all those things, but still wanting to be a high level player is a tough, can be tough waters to navigate.
Yeah, well said. I agree with a lot of that. I think having a baseline of athleticism and multi-sport background, especially at a younger age, I think can only benefit you. I don't really think there's much of a negative for that. And I think, of course, everything is context specific, right? So yes, Tiger Woods at 2 years old was going to be a golfer, right? So, there's not too many of those, but at the same time, I think we have to understand that there is a balance, there is a fine line between overdoing it too much, right? And being obsessive over something, and also understanding that you can get benefit from other things, but yet still focusing on your craft if that's something that you really and truly want to specialize in. Personally, I think, up until you're 12, 13, 14 years old, I think having that variety is important and helps you with a lot of the things you talked about, balancing out asymmetries, getting stronger in different modalities and different planes of motion, whether it's stop and start in basketball and vertical jumps, or playing baseball with hand-eye coordination to hit a golf ball. I think all those things are helpful, and I think what you're seeing nowadays is more of that kind of athlete approach. But yes, sure, if you're someone that's going to be super committed and dedicated to wanting to do this at a high level, we'll call it, of course, that practice has to be there to specialize in what you do. But unfortunately, I think sometimes this is kind of right at the beginning of what you said, which I think is very important. I think the pressure comes from the parents to push the kid into something. And that's where the problem is, right? You know, hey, go practice, go do this. But if the kid doesn't want to do it, that's where you're going to get kind of that eventual headbutting. So as parents, I think it's important to promote the well-rounded approach, go out, by the way, like you said before, go play a team sport, right? Make some friends, learn what it's like to interact in a team environment, because golf is kind of lonely. So it's something that I know, I'm sure you get asked a lot. I know I get asked a lot. And I think it's something that there's probably going to be even more like, I don't know if you could study it or do data research on it, but I feel like that's kind of where things are going. It's like, hey, be more of an athlete. Look at the way some of these guys are just built now on the tour, and the way that the morphology is changing of these bigger, faster, stronger guys. So I think it's an interesting topic that's going to continue to evolve, but just as a very general overview, broad range things doesn't hurt, right? So
No.
that's kind of where I stand on that. But
yeah, and the conversation I had with the parent of the 9-year-olds, I said, look, I don't have kids of my own, but I think the conversation I would have with my kid, if they were, as far as whether or not I'm going to push them or whether I'm going to let them do their own thing, I would want to know what the kid thought his goals were. Sure. And if my kid was saying, look, I want to be a great golfer, I want to be one of the best players again in the world or whatever, something like that, but their habits don't match that, I would probably try to show them or, illuminate for them, look, you say you want to do this, here's what you're actually doing. Those habits are not going to get you to where you'd like to be. Now you can decide if you're okay with that, but if you just want to have fun with your friends and you want to be on the team and you're not going to take it super seriously, then I'm cool with that too. Those habits are matching your goals. But if you say you want to be great, but your habits aren't matching that, I just, you need to decide whether or not you want to change that, or if you're okay with, maybe not getting to where you think you'd like to get.
Hey man, habits and behavior change. You're speaking my language now with my psychologist. So that's a whole nother webinar for that one. But
yeah,
we've talked a lot about kind of navigating the junior level stuff, right? Let's dive into a little bit more of, okay, good elite level high school players prepping for college, right? Kids that want to play college golf. College golf is, I think, taken off in the last couple of years, and you're seeing how some of these players come right out and start winning on tour, and Hovland did it on Sunday, right? So for those people out there that are following, that are listening to this, that have aspirations to get recruited, play college golf, what are one or two things or pieces of advice, recommendations that you would give them to focus on in the gym or just in general?
I think, in the gym, I would say, start to make, maybe the first one would be just try to start to make fitness a year-round activity. And just understand that it's not just an off-season kind of thing. If you're going to play in college, if you're going to, play professionally, you're going to need to be in the gym year-round. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be the same frequency or the same intensity year-round, but there's, the old saying, there's no off-season. Really golf is a year-round sport. There is no off season. There's about a month there at the end of the fall where there's really no much golf going on. But other than that, it's pretty much year-round. So I think, getting involved, in the gym year-round. And I find it interesting because when I was in high school, I didn't work out. Nobody that I knew was working out. We just practiced and played. And, so to be with a junior program now and to see 10, 11, 12-year-olds in the gym, I can obviously see where it's, where it's kind of progressed. And I think getting used to that, team workout environment, and how to navigate that a little bit. And, some of your time is going to be dictated as a college athlete, from the coach and the strength coach and those kind of things. But, to be a good college player, to want to go and play beyond college, to get enough out of your fitness program, you're probably going to need to dedicate some time on your own. because the NCAA is going to limit the hours. Your coach is only going to have so much time that they can require of you. And that may not be enough to play to the level that you'd like to play.
Right.
I think the other big thing that I see from juniors that they really need to work on is their nutrition. And understanding that where nutrition and rest and recovery plays into this whole equation of being a great athlete. I think most of them obviously understand the practice piece. Like I said, clearly more juniors are understanding where the fitness comes in and are starting that earlier. But talking to most of the juniors, their understanding and their level of priority from nutrition and rest and recovery is still very poor. And
that's a kind way to put it.
That is very kind. That's a very kind way to put it. They just don't understand how, because they can get away with it to some degree, but they don't understand. I think, Eric Cressy had a great tweet, I think it was last week, where he said, if you want to, I'm sort of summarizing here, but basically if you want to play your best or do better than the other people you're playing against, you need to out eat and out
sleep. I saw
your
that
competition.
Yep.
Because everybody else is doing the other stuff. Everybody's doing the practicing, everybody's working out. So now the line to differentiate yourself becomes, how are you eating? How are you sleeping? How are you, recovering in between stuff? And I think that's the next sort of frontier that junior golfers need to do a better job of. Again, professionals are better at it, and then the further away you get from them, I think the worse. The whole strength and conditioning thing started professionally, came down to college, down into high school, and now again that's pretty much standard. And now the nutrition and the sleep piece needs to get better for juniors.
Yeah, amen to that. I hear you. I think to that same extent, what I like to tell my junior players too is, yes, other people are in the gym, right? And they're doing stuff, but you can get a leg up on your competition by being in the gym doing the right stuff, right? So learning how your body moves, learning exactly what you should be doing pre and post round or mid round, like you talked about, right? With your nutrition. I love that. So I think there is a advantage to be gained on the course by what you do and prepare for off the course. And I think that's something that's even more magnified at the junior level, because yes, there might be a couple of 17, 8-year-old kids out there that are just crazy talented and don't do much in the gym, and that's fine. But for the majority of players, right, they're going to need to work hard on their game, but they're also going to need to build themselves in the gym as well. And like I mentioned earlier, the second you step into that college weight room, that strength coach is going to put you through their program, whether you're ready for it or not, right? It's coming. And I'm sure you've seen this as well from some of the kids that you train. Like, some of my guys come back from their college seasons and they hand me their summer programs, and half the time I cringe, right? I'm looking at them like, oh my God, they have you doing this? And then thankfully the other half of the time I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we can work with this, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff out there where, for the junior player, understanding, first of all, it starts with the assessment, understanding what they should be working on. They can gain a clear advantage of doing the right things, getting their body prepared in the best place to succeed. Because also, I keep going back to this too, but like, you step into that college as a freshman with a level of kind of confidence and education as to what you should be doing in the gym. Coaches realize that. The strength coaches see that. The other players see that. It's only something that you're adding to your game to be better, right? And I think that's a huge component. And finally, like you said, we go to tour events, we see the fitness trailer. Yes, it's there, and the guys are in there, and it's happening at the highest level. It's getting there at college, right? Especially at the Division I programs, they kind of have everything you need to, but it's slowly disseminating itself down, right? Amateur ranks, mini tour, and now it's getting into into high school and these junior circuits where, I'm going to a big junior tournament in a couple of weeks. Like, I'm really excited to see what's there. Like, are there going to be other trainers there? Like, I'm going for my kid, but like, are other people going to be there? So it's continuing to grow and get more profound, I guess, at this level. And I think fast forward 5 years from now, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I think, is going to hopefully be like common knowledge. Oh yeah, like, of course, why wouldn't I do that? But I still think we're navigating that area right now. So Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
one more thing there, Mike,
go
that made me
shoot.
think, made me think of. I think it's important for juniors to maybe consider is that, I think still a lot of times in college, unfortunately, you know, the golf teams receive relatively low priority when it
Mhm.
comes to college strength and conditioning. Better than they used to, I think, but it's oftentimes going to be the responsibility of working with the golf team may fall to a coach who is more interested in their career in football or basketball or something like that, and golf is sort of a second or third responsibility, and they may not have a lot of background in golf. And if that's the case, it would be good to have somebody outside of the university to sort of maybe fill in the gaps or consult with or something like that. I think there's a number of reasons why that happens in college, but if you go into that with open eyes and understand that the trainer you've been working with as a junior may actually have a much longer and broader background in golf strength and conditioning than your college strength coach will, who often may change 2 or 3 times in the 4 years that you're there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Because those coaches are going to move on, and again, golf is often not their not their career not their career objective.
Right.
So understanding that, going into that with open eyes, and understanding that if you run into a situation like that, how to deal with it, how to deal with it appropriately, because again, you have to be part of the team. You have to do what the coach wants you to do and the trainer wants you to do, but while playing by those rules, you can still do what you need to do to make sure your body is ready to play your best.
Sure. That's a good point. I think it's something that, because you and I, we have our CSCS, so we're qualified to do strength coach if we wanted to. But if you go to these college programs, those strength coaches, yes, they might have TPI certification, but like you said, they're not specializing in the golf world. So a lot of times it either falls on the head golf coach, from what I've seen, or just like you said, golf team gets lumped into workouts that the rest of the other sports are doing. And I know that some of the big time programs do outsource their programming to other well-known golf fitness trainers. I've been lucky enough to work with a local school here in Charleston. They bring me in to write their programming for them in the springtime for their golf season as a separate entity from their strength coach. So I think that's, again, a huge factor. And hopefully, again, something in a couple of years from now that people like you and I can be more of a consultant advisor or something like that to these college programs to help get them in the best place for their players. So
yeah,
I like it. What else, my friend? That's about all I got on my end. You got anything you want to add?
No, I think I think we covered most of the bases. Again, I think it's great that more and more juniors are getting involved in this stuff. The game is becoming. I tell people all the time. I think skill will always probably win in golf more than physical will. You don't have to run around anybody or past anybody or tackle anybody like you do in some other sports. And so skill and squaring up the club face and those kind of things are always going to win. But, clearly the fitness thing is becoming more the norm. And if you can put those two together, if you can have a little bit of skill and you can have an athletic player who's working on their fitness and develop those attributes as well, we're seeing where the game is going, and the club head speeds that are being generated and the distances that guys are hitting the ball and those kind of things. And, especially if they start putting limitations on the equipment and how far the equipment is going to be able to, travel or hit the ball, our contribution is probably actually going to get even greater because we're, that's how they're going to be able to maximize, you're not going to be able to change the equipment anymore. So what can you change? Well, you can change your body.
Right.
So that's where, I think we're going to become even more important if the game starts going in that direction a little bit. So the sooner juniors can get involved, the sooner they can get comfortable in the gym and sort of navigate that awkward phase of not knowing what the heck's going on, and develop those lifetime habits of, just year round consistent training, how to eat, how to recover, how to sleep, how to warm up before a round, how to deal with multiple rounds on multiple days, and all those things that can save shots in a weekend or a week-long tournament. The better, the quicker you can work through that, the better.
You just made a very compelling case for wanting the rollback of golf balls. I love it. Right, our our job gets even more important.
Yeah, I think we go way up in priority if that starts to happen. So
I
could be
like
good
it.
for us. Could
I
be good
like
for
it.
us.
Well, the final point that I want to add is just simply to junior players: surround yourself with a team. It happens at the highest level. Pros have their swing coaches, their trainers, their massage therapists, their mental guys. Yes, that's a high level. But as a junior player, there's still no reason why you can't have a swing coach and a trainer at bare minimum, right? Surround yourself with a team of people that want the best for you, that are going to put you in the best place to succeed. And the beauty of nowadays, if you're somewhere that doesn't have that, you can find lovely people like us online to help you, right? So there is so much information out there that I want you to feel that you have access to whatever you need. Surround yourself with the right people, and because people like us are going to communicate with your swing coaches and your physiotherapists and your massage therapists to put you in that best place to succeed. If you're really serious about it, go ahead and seek out a fitness professional to really help you along that path. So awesome stuff. I really appreciate it. What I'd like to do is, I'll just unmute everybody for a quick second. If anybody has any questions, unmute. Okay. So everyone is now unmuted. If anybody has any questions, feel free to just fire away for Kirk and I. Yeah, I'll just open it up for a second. Nathan, go. What do you got for me, bud?
What's going on, guys? Kirk, can you speak to things to consider when selecting a school for a junior, or as a junior selecting the school? I think I heard you speak about this on Ben's podcast. Just if you're going to go to a big school, you have to be prepared. You may not play.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, do you want to be a part of a certain program because that's what's important to you, or do you want to go and play golf? Some people might want to go to a big time program and just, be able to say that they're at one of these Division I, Big Ten, Pac-10 type schools, and be able to say they're on that team and have that experience of playing with a team who is maybe highly ranked. And even if they don't ever actually play in the tournament, they just want to be a part of that environment, a part of that team, and that's fantastic. Do you want to go somewhere where you can play for 4 years? And I think, again, it depends on what your aspirations potentially are afterwards. Where does the quality of the golf relative to the quality of the school come into play? Do you want to go to a lesser academic school just so you can say you play golf, or do you want to go to the best academic school you can go to and maybe play on a lesser accomplished golf team, or whatever the case may be? So I think those are a couple decisions that you ought to consider. What are your long-term goals? Is it more academic? Is it more athletic? Do you want to know that you're going to be able to play the majority of your time or any of your time there, or do you just want to be part of a big time program, whether you never play in a tournament or not? So I think those are a couple things to consider.
One of the things I heard you say that really opened my eyes, and I basically had said it or passed it along to a couple of my juniors this past weekend, was say you're going to school like in Northeast type thing, and the tournament's out in California, and you're stuck back in Northeast. You're walking through snow, and you're expected to get to the gym. You're expected to get your training in and your practice in. Meanwhile, your teammates are out in sunny California. How is that going to play on your mental capacity, right? Especially if you're not just 1 year, but 4 years.
There's very few sadder individuals than the kids that I had to see in the gym when their teammates were off playing in the tournament. They were not happy to see me those days. And that's, it's tough to swallow. And, I tried to obviously play the motivation card, and you have a chance to get better. But when you're a senior and you're not traveling to tournaments and you still have to be at workouts at 6 a.m, and it's tough to get motivated for that. So it's not all championships and fun stuff. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of early mornings. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of grinding on the range. So it can be a lot. So I think those are things to consider. Again, whether whether you're willing to deal with that and how, and not go to a lot of tournaments, or whether you want to go somewhere where you absolutely know you're going to be able to play and not have to worry about that kind of stuff.
And don't go to school in the Northeast so you don't have to deal with snow.
That too.
That too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Mike, going back to the real quick before anybody else said, anybody has other questions, one thing you said about a team, like, I think that's important for junior parents to consider, like, when you're, when you're dealing with folks like myself or their swing coach, or if someone has an injury, like I would ask those people that they need to be communicating with each other. So if you have if you're working with a swing coach and you're working with a trainer, I would almost sort of demand that they talk to each other. And if your child is dealing with an injury, they need to be talking to each other. So, these people should not be living in sort of isolation. If you're coming to see someone like me, I should know who your trainer or your swing coach is, and I should be working with them. And that should almost be something that you require of the folks that are working with your child.
Absolutely.
Yep. Anybody else? Any questions on here? I know I have a few people logged on just via the phone, so I don't know if they could actually speak. But if you do, feel free to ask away.
Or type, or
type anything. Yeah.
Kirk, what's your favorite games or go-to games for juniors? More so the younger guy, and not so much like the 14 to 16 or 18, but more like the 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. I do a really poor job of that. I'm not a big games guy, and that's something that I think I could do a much better job in my programming. So I may actually throw that back on you and try to steal some from you at some point.
My favorites I just posted about the other day or last week was it's a mobility drill basically. I got it from Ido Portal about a decade ago, and it's I do it with my juniors, I do it with my senior golfers, and it's just a way to kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically like the Matrix kind of thing, right?
I was just going to say,
yeah.
You gotta stay stationary, and your partner is trying to, like, almost like a laser beam, cut you in half, and you have to avoid the laser beam without losing your footing.
Okay.
I love it for not just for like the juniors, but for my seniors. Like, they're laughing, they're having a great time, and it's like, oh, you know what? This is so much more valuable than me going through a joint mobility routine from a group, having fun perspective, obviously. But.
Yeah. I'll freely admit that's an area of my programming I could definitely improve on. I may look for more of that stuff.
Yeah, that was a fun post, Nathan. I saw that.
Yeah.
I wish I created it.
Hold on. We got a question in the chat box over here. I feel like, hold on. Let's see. All right, from Manny. How do you guys handle temper tantrums during tournaments? I have a 13-year-old. He's gotten better, but I don't want to make it worse. Oh, okay. So very interesting. I'm trying to think of how I want to approach this. Well, I don't have a child old enough to be dealing with that, but I think that's a very interesting component. I think a lot of that certainly is from a mental approach to things, right? And I think, listen, at 13 years old, you're not going to be winning the Masters, right? So I think having an understanding of like, hey, listen, this is going to be a growth process. We're going to try to get a little bit better. We're going to hit bad shots. Bad things are going to happen, right? Golf is a tough freaking game. So I think it's something that communication of that ahead of time would probably help. We're all going to have our moments in sports where we feel frustrated or get angry. But at the same time, I think knowing that you can only control the next shot is a huge component, and something that golf can humble you very quickly, because you can go out, or at least I can go out one day and feel good, and then the next day feel like I don't know how to swing a club. So I can't really speak to much more than that as far as actually being on the course and dealing with an actual child. Does anybody else have any insight? Courtney, do you have anything to say about that with a daughter a little bit more?
Yeah.
That age?
I have a 16-year-old, and he's being heavily recruited by SEC schools, and I've been training him for 3 years. And when he was 13, 14, and 15, he had a hard time with it. And the biggest one was at the state tournament. He had the lead after day one, and then had a complete temper tantrum on hole 14. And when we came back to the gym to talk, it's just kind of focusing on big picture. So we sat and we talked, and what good what good did it do, what bad did it do, and what was your big picture? So, I mean, obviously he wants to play at an SEC school, so that's something that we've spent a lot of time on. Like, are you doing things that are going to help you get there, or are you going to do things that aren't going to help you get there? And a couple coaches pulled me aside and actually told me that that was one of his biggest faults. And so once I explained that to him, things changed. But I think there's something about a 13, 14-year-old. There's a little bit of maturity, and sometimes time helps, and just friendly reminders. You can't tell them to stop immediately. It's a passion. You want them to have that passion. But I also think it's something that I think now that with a 16-year-old, I've seen the way he was at 13, and I see the way he is now. It's different. And I think there's a little bit of age, a little bit of focus. And there was a recent podcast, I think it was Brett McCabe had a golf caddy on there recently. King, who's the beef jerky guy for the Who Sells Beef Jerky on tour?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I don't know, but I
anyway,
need to find out.
Wait, you just went
Yeah,
from
but
temper tantrums to a podcast to beef jerky. I didn't.
Well, anyways, he actually talked about, like, he had a podcast. His name was King. His last name's King. I'll put in the notes once I look for it after I'm done talking. But he talked about a lot, even as adults, like they have a hard time. And he says, getting mad about a shot does zero good. Like, they're zero good getting mad about a shot.
I like that. One actual reference that just popped into my head too, for Manny, who asked this question, is the book Fearless Golf by Dr. Gio Violente. I forget how to pronounce his name. He's a mental coach for a lot of the pros. Really good book, kind of to that same notion as far as like you can only control one shot at a time, having the right visual picture, and learning that it's a process. So check that out, Fearless Golf, if that helps, and hopefully we provided some insight into your question. But thank you for asking. Anybody else? I hope this was helpful.
I got another one.
You got another one. Go for it.
Go for it.
Kurt, how often do you reassess your golfers in the off season? Does it differ if you have somebody like in the Northeast who has more of an off season versus somebody who maybe plays more year round?
I'm sorry. Are you talking juniors?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We usually do it beginning and end of our 12-week. We do 12 weeks in the fall. We did the beginning and the end of that. We did it again in the beginning, especially with the new kids that joined the program in the winter. And then we'll do that again at the end of March. And then the ones that stick around for the spring, we'll probably do it again for them at the beginning and end of that program as well. So about every 12 weeks.
Gotcha.
And again, what I think in an ideal world, what we would do a better job of is, or I would do a better job of, is doing more just sort of small assessments during sessions, where if there's something that an individual, maybe it's not a full-blown assessment like we would do at the beginning, but if something really was an issue for someone, maybe checking in with that more periodically, maybe not every week or every session, but every couple weeks, and just see if we're making some in headway. So that we don't go 12 weeks before we realize that we haven't made a lot of headway there. So, yeah.
Hey, buddy, you're not eating upstairs, are you?
All right. We got one more question over here. What league do you recommend after U.S. Kids Golf? My son ages out next year. Oh, man, there's a ton of options. There's so many tours out. Manny, where do you live? Are you in New Jersey? Because Kirk, do you have any developmental? I know down by me. The AJGA is the biggest one, right? I mean, that's the American Junior Golf Association is national, so that's the probably most well-known, all over the place kind of deal. So I would certainly check out.
What age does U.S. Kids Golf end? Does anyone know?
Well, if he has he says he has a 13-year-old, so probably ends at about 14. Yeah. At that point in time, there's a lot of different options, but I think depending on where you are regionally, I think you could have a lot of options as far as checking out into other golf leagues. but definitely check out
Yeah,
the AJGA.
Yeah, I was going to say AJGA, and then Manny. What I can do as well is I'll because I think you're sort of in the area. I'll try to follow up and see if I can get more specific information about some tours that are maybe close to you that aren't AJGA or something like that.
Yeah, perfect. All right, guys. Awesome. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Okay, good. All right, glad that helped, Manny. I want to respect your time. And again, just quick little info as far as what we're doing here, guys. The Mastermind group is going to be putting this on every single month. We've got a lot of positive feedback thus far in terms of people that have enjoyed the webinars and that are interested in it. So hopefully this continues to grow. And what we're going to be doing is this is recorded. We'll cut it, we'll edit it, and we will email it out to everyone that registered. And then I will also post it to our YouTube page, which we've recently started. So you can go to that and watch it as well. And again, leave a comment and let us, and last thing, let us know what other topics you would like to hear from us. Obviously, each of us kind of has our little area of expertise, and I think we have 14 people that are in the group right now. So we're going to be coming at you guys with a lot of cool content and looking to really get as much information and value out to the golf space as we possibly can. So again, thank you, Kirk. I appreciate your time hopping on and co-hosting this with me. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
You got it. Courtney, Nathan, rest of the Mastermind guys, thank you for being on here, and for everybody else that signed on. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will talk to you guys again next month.